He says they've already lived through many health crises behind bars, from hepatitis to tuberculosis.
They have survived so many things, and we can't expect them to survive this.
Gwen Hogan, WNYC News.
The governor has released about 3,500 people early over the course of the outbreak, most of whom were within 90 days of their release date. His office would not say whether he would expand releases due to the current surge.
WNYC is supported by the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, dedicated to promoting informed and engaged communities and committed to helping public radio advance quality journalism in the digital age. More at knightfoundation.org. Leadership funding for WNYC is provided by the Jerome L. Green Foundation, a proud supporter of New York City's major cultural institutions.
On the next All of It, we'll look at a new documentary about the life and career of Tiger Woods. Director Matthew Hamachek joins us to discuss Tiger, about the rise, fall, and resurrection of a cultural icon and premier athlete. Plus, the films recognized by IFP Gotham Film Awards, highlighting the season's breakthrough actors, directors, and more. IFP Executive Director Jeffrey Sharp joins us. I'm Allison Stewart. Join me for All of It, weekdays at noon on WNYC.
The Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next here on WNYC. And then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC News Hour on 93.9 FM. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. Good morning, BBC.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm James Menendez. Today on NewsHour, President Trump condemns the attack on the Capitol and says he'll ensure a smooth transition to the Biden administration. Has he finally betrayed his supporters? Also, the suspected mastermind of the 2002 Bali bombings has been released from prison. We'll talk to one of those who survived the attack. That's BBC NewsHour at 9 on 93.9 FM, WNYC.
.28 degrees now. It will be mostly sunny today with a high of 41. Tomorrow, again, mostly sunny, a high of 39 degrees. This is WNYC.
We have the latest assessment of the job market.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by UKG. Ultimate Kronos Group offers HR solutions to connect modern workforces. UKG.com. Our purpose is people. And by Fidelity Wealth Management, providing perspective on a client's entire financial picture. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC.
I'm David Brancaccio. For the first time since pandemic April, the number of people on American payrolls did not rise. Instead, payrolls in December actually dropped by 140,000. That is also weaker than expected. Economist Julia Coronado is founder with Macro Policy Perspectives, and she's been reading deeply into the report. Hi, Julia.
Good morning.
Where was the weakness focused?
The weakness was focused almost entirely in restaurants, which is not surprising given the rise of the pandemic. They had to shut down. They laid off almost 500,000 workers.
Which nuances the other piece of data that wages went up 0.8% month on month.
Right, exactly. And that's not because wages are rising, but because a lot of low-wage workers fell out of the calculation. So that's not a sign of strength, but a sign of weakness, and that the most vulnerable workers are getting hit the hardest.
All right, so this is terrible in restaurants, but if that's where the weakness was concentrated, maybe things were at least treading water elsewhere?
No, things were pretty decent elsewhere. You know, expected strength in housing construction and manufacturing. So some decent numbers. If we can turn the corner on the pandemic, some of this could be transitory. I think that's the glass half full take of this report.
Economist Julia Coronado, Macro Policy Perspectives, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So December numbers, but keeping this 2021 focus, what about the month we're living in now, January? Marketplace's Samantha Fields?
The short answer, not yet. For one reason, the U.S. is still setting records for new COVID infections and deaths.
I think that's the biggest determinant, frankly. What's the virus doing?
Erica Groshin is an economist at Cornell University. She says as long as so many people are staying home, we just aren't going to see a lot more hiring.
We sort of reached a plateau, I would say, that is not going to look a lot better until the vaccine reaches a whole lot more people.
And we're not there yet. But Heidi Shearholtz at the Economic Policy Institute says the latest COVID relief package will have a positive effect on the economy this month.
Without that stimulus package, over 10 million people would have lost unemployment insurance benefits at the end of December. And that would have been a huge drag on the economy that we will not see.
And with the Democrats soon to be in charge, Shearholtz says there is likely more relief on the way. I'm Samantha Fields for Marketplace.
Markets, the S&P future is up 0.4% now. It is the week that interest rates started moving up off their pandemic lows. The 10-year benchmark is up now at 1.09%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by C3.ai. C3.ai software enables organizations to use artificial intelligence at enterprise scale, solving previously unsolvable business problems. Learn more at C3.ai. And by GEP, helping transform supply chains with strategy, services, and software, including GEP Smart and GEP Next, AI-based digital procurement and supply chain platforms. And by Cabot Creamery, a farm family cooperative since 1919, crafting traditional cheddar cheese, offering comfort recipes and educational resources at cabotcheese.coop.
Now to speeding up coronavirus vaccine shots after what's seen as a slow start in many places. Experts say some delay may have been the federal money to help states with this took its time in getting into law. There was also 2 weeks that pharmacy chains needed to get their vaccine shipments sorted before getting to nursing homes and other factors. As part of Marketplace's ongoing Fast Track series about the challenges of distribution, I wanted to check back in with Dr. Kelly Moore, Deputy Director of the Immunization Action Coalition. Thank you for doing this.
It's great to be with you again, David.
Where are we with this? I mean, a lot of headlines about a lot of vaccine already out there, but not a lot going into people's arms. Does this surprise you?
I think that some of the promises made by federal officials were truly aspirational, but really unrealistic. If you've been in this business as long as I have, you know that there's a lot of work to do to start rolling out a new vaccination program. So it's not surprising that we're getting a slow start, but we should see things improve in the weeks ahead.
Now, we do really got to get on the stick here. Lives are at stake. Any recommendations for how we could rethink a little bit of this?
I think a couple of things would be helpful. One of those is going to be getting people experienced with giving these vaccines and with scheduling them. The other thing is that I'm hopeful that additional funding to public health will allow public health officials to start setting up publicly accessible large-scale vaccination clinics with the additional resources coming soon.
I've noted that who gets vaccinated when really does vary by state. This is the tradition even before COVID-19 that the CDC recommends but doesn't mandate.
That's right. But in public health at the state and local level, we consider their recommendations nearly scriptural. They're generally supported by the best available evidence. And so traditionally, we've been able to really hang our hats on their recommendations.
But this time it seems different. Even though there were always recommendations, this time some states are saying, no, we can figure this out ourselves.
Well, I think over the last year, there's been a lot of confusion about various aspects of the pandemic and the response to the pandemic, whether it came to testing and how testing was done or contact tracing. And states have felt like CDC wasn't providing enough guidance or perhaps the best guidance. There were questions and concerns about political influence on that guidance, and that undermines the credibility of this incredibly important agency. And I think we're seeing the results of that in states choosing to go their own way instead of following these guidelines. And it does create more confusion when one state is doing something different than the state next door. So my hope is that we can restore trust in CDC and restore our ability to cooperate across state lines.
Dr. Kelly Moore is Deputy Director of the Immunization Action Coalition based in Nashville. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
All of our Fast Track coverage accumulates at marketplace.org. I'm David Brancaccio. This is the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.